Okay, so in this training we're going to talk about the quote contract form. So I have a quote open here. On the quote form it's broken up into several sections. On the left side you have the billing information of the customer. You can see from here if you have an email address filled in, you click send email, it'll create an email for that customer. You can create new customers from here. You can edit the customer that you have open directly from here. You can copy this billing information over to a new shipping address by clicking the copy button. On the shipping side, you can have multiple shipping addresses for each customer. You can create new ones from here, edit existing ones, and also send emails if there's an email address filled in for it. At the top of the form here we have our quote number. We also have our toggle that converts it from a quote to a contract. When we convert it from a quote to a contract, what you'll see is that contract date fills in, which we can override if we need to. It also says SC up here for sales contract instead of Q for quote. On the right-hand side, we have print button, which allows us to print our customer copies. We have a view button, which allows us to view everything related. So you can see everything associated to this job is directly accessible from the job. You can also create anything related to the job. So if you need to create special order records for the material lines, you can do that. You can create special order purchase orders from here. Schedule work orders. That would be installations, deliveries and pickups, warranty work orders, all from right here. Once it's a contract, you can also receive payment against it. Change orders are produced from here as well. Invoices, notes, and attachments. Down below that, in the job information section, this is sort of like the basic information. You have your quote date and contract date. If you'd like this to show up on the calendar with a date that it's going to be measured, you can actually put the measure date in, select a measure time. So we're going to go out there early at 7. Select the measure person, and that shows up on the calendar as a measure event for this contract for this customer. You can also add next contact information in. So if you say that James needs to contact this customer about this job on Wednesday, and that he needs to talk to them about changes to carpet dialogue, something along those lines. This now shows up on the calendar for James to actually place a phone call to this customer about this contract. On the calendar, he can open this contract directly from the calendar. To the right of that, we have job type. This allows you to classify your job. You actually build a data list of job types in the system, and you can select from them. All of the fields inside of here down to advertising type do fill in automatically from the customer that you've created. But if you want to override that here, you can do that. You can reselect. Maybe it's different for this one job for this customer. If you have price levels, you can enter. You can say that there's a level 1 customer, and that automatically fills it in for margins for creating line items. On location here, again, it defaults by the customer. If you have multiple locations, though, you can change that. The sales rep pulls in as well. Sales rep can change. You can have 2 sales reps, and the commission will be split between them. Advertising type is where that customer heard about you. Sales stages allow you to track the different stages that the job goes through, the quote goes through typically. Once the order is confirmed and it becomes a contract, normally you won't use this sales stage anymore. It goes order confirmed, and that's it. But you can really use it for anything you want. If you get the verbal go-ahead, you have an expected close date of the 1st. This just allows you to run filtering and see on the job when you're thinking you're going to be able to get that job done. Over here, once it becomes a contract, these statuses become relevant. They're mainly focused on reporting in different parts of the system. So the overall status of the job is here. Simple statuses, active, closed, and canceled. Once it's closed, that means the job is completed. Everything's done. You've paid your commission. It's all over with. It stays inside the system, but it removes from all of your active lists. So you can still find it, but it kind of removes itself from your day-to-day stuff. When you select it closed, you're going to want to put in a closed date, You can do that here. And that'll allow for reporting to be done based on the date that you close the job. Ordering is done in different ways in the system. You can create purchase orders directly from this contract. However, if you have a central purchasing agent, they may not want to come back and have to just look at every contract. So you can toggle this from blank to ready, and that will show up in a list of jobs ready for ordering for a central ordering person. If you put a date in there, it'll tell them the date that you'd prefer it to be ordered. Very similar to that, we have a scheduling status where you can say that it's ready to be scheduled, and it shows up in that list for the scheduler to go ahead and create the work orders and get the job scheduled. At the end of the job, or at any point, when it's ready to be invoiced, you can mark it ready to be invoiced, and it shows up in a list for accounting, list of jobs for accounting, of jobs ready to be invoiced. On the right here, we have our totals. You can see the tax group, the rate that comes from that tax group, and these do integrate with the QuickBooks tax groups. So if you have them in QuickBooks or if you modify them in QuickBooks, it will modify them here. The job type, which was retail, brings in a default deposit percentage. That calculates a deposit amount just as a reference point for you to know that you can, when you go to take that deposit, this is roughly what you're going to want to take. If any of your material is calculating a use tax, it will calculate into this box. It also gets added into the cost of the job, so that way you can see your projected margins, including that use tax cost. At the end of the job, once it's closed, this job shows up in a report of use tax so that you can actually calculate your use tax without having to do it all manually. Subtotal of the job, tax is calculated, the order total with taxes, any payments that have been applied, and the balance. Once invoices have been generated for this sales contract, you'll see an amount invoiced, a percentage invoiced, and the balance of the invoices to show you how much money the customer owes you on those invoices. And all of this integrates directly with QuickBooks. Down below that, we have our line items. Use these three buttons to create your line items. Over here we have manual markup and margin. If you type a number in here, you can click Update Lines, and that will update all of the line items to calculate a new price for them based on the margin. The only thing to remember here is that if you have overridden a unit price on a particular line item, or if there's no cost to calculate the price based on it, it will not modify that unit price using this function. So if you're using default pricing in the system or margin-based pricing in the system, entering a number here and clicking Update Lines will automatically adjust the line items based on the number that you enter. If you're entering the number manually, typing it in by the user, this will not override what the user has manually entered into those line items. Get lines from job number allows you to pull line items from another job. So instead of having to enter all of the job line items manually, you can get the lines from another job number and then just change the details of them. It saves a lot of time on data entry, especially in